My dear friend, come in, settle down. It's a quiet moment, just for us. The world outside can feel so demanding, pulling us in so many directions, whispering about all the things we could have, all the things we should be. But here, in this moment, let's just breathe. Let's let go of the urgency, the hurried pace, and simply rest. Imagine yourself in a warm, safe space, perhaps by a softly glowing fire, or looking out at a peaceful night sky. There's no rush here. There's only acceptance and a deep, comforting presence. Sometimes life feels like a constant pursuit, doesn't it? A never-ending race to acquire more, achieve more, be more. From the moment we wake, our minds can start listing all the things we lack, all the goals we haven't quite reached. We see others, or what we think we see of others, and a subtle sense of unease can creep in. Do I have enough? Am I doing enough? It's a quiet whisper that can grow into a roar, leaving us feeling restless, perpetually a few steps behind. This feeling, this chasing heart, is something so many of us know intimately. It's a part of the human experience, this longing, this desire for something just out of reach. We believe if we just get that one thing or achieve that one status, then finally we'll find peace. But what if peace isn't found at the end of a chase? What if it's found in the gentle letting go, in the quiet recognition of what we already hold? This isn't about ignoring our dreams or ambitions, not at all. It's about finding a different footing, a deeper sense of security that isn't dependent on the ever-shifting sands of what we possess or achieve. It's about discovering a quiet contentment that flows from a source far greater than any earthly treasure. Think for a moment about the quiet strength of a tree. It doesn't stretch and strain to grow faster, to bear more fruit than its neighbor. It simply is. It draws nourishment from the earth, reaches for the sun, and stands firm, rooted in its own reality. In a way, we are invited to find a similar stillness, a stillness that anchors us even when the winds of desire and comparison blow fiercely. The wisdom that Jesus shared and that echoed through the voices of his closest friends often touched on this very struggle. They weren't speaking from a place of harsh judgment, but from a deep understanding of the human heart, its tendencies, and its true needs. They saw how easily we could become entangled in the pursuit of temporary things, how our hearts could be drawn away from what truly nourishes and sustains us. They understood that an anxious grip on possessions or a restless chase for more could actually diminish our lives rather than enrich them. Imagine a little bird flitting from branch to branch. It doesn't carry a wallet. It doesn't worry about its retirement plan. It lives in the present moment, trusting that what it needs will be there. Of course, our lives are more complex than a bird's, and we have responsibilities and plans, but there's a gentle lesson there, a reminder that an underlying trust can free us from the constant weight of worry about provision. It invites us to consider what it would feel like to carry less, not necessarily less stuff, but less worry about the stuff or the lack of it. This contentment isn't about settling for less than we deserve or stifling our desire for growth and improvement. It's much deeper than that. It's about a profound shift in perspective, a recognition that our worth isn't tied to our possessions or our achievements. Our worth, our inherent value, is a gift, a fundamental truth about who we are. When we begin to truly grasp this, the pressure to constantly prove ourselves through external means begins to soften. The chasing heart starts to slow its frantic beat. Sometimes we chase things because we believe they will fill a void, a deep ache within us. We might think a new car will bring us happiness, or a bigger house will bring us security, or a certain amount of money will finally make us feel safe. And while these things can offer temporary comfort or convenience, they often leave that deeper longing untouched. The void remains, and so the chase continues, moving from one desire to the next, like a hamster on the wheel, running without truly getting anywhere. What if that void isn't meant to be filled by things? What if it's meant to be filled by something else entirely? By a sense of connection, a feeling of being truly seen and loved, a quiet confidence that comes from knowing we're held no matter what. This is the heart of what we're exploring here. It's a gentle invitation to turn our gaze inward and upward to find the source of true peace and security. Think about the stories you've heard, or perhaps even lived, where someone achieved great external success, yet still felt an emptiness inside. Or conversely, someone with very little, who radiated a profound peace and joy. It's not about judging their circumstances, but about recognizing where true contentment truly resides. It's a testament to the idea that peace isn't found in the things, but through a different way of relating to them. When we let go of the relentless chase, we create space. Space in our minds, space in our schedules, space in our hearts. This space allows us to truly see what we already have. It allows us to appreciate the simple blessings that often get overshadowed by our longing for the next big thing. The warmth of a cup of tea, the comfort of a familiar blanket, the sound of rain outside, a kind word from a friend, the quiet beauty of a sunrise. These small moments, when we truly notice and savor them, can be profound sources of peace. It's like holding a precious stone in your hand. If you're constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering if someone else has a bigger, shinier stone, you miss the beauty of the one you hold. You miss its unique facets, its subtle colors, its smooth, comforting weight. Contentment is about truly seeing and appreciating the stone in your own hand, not just comparing it to others. This isn't about denying ourselves things that bring us joy or improve our lives. It's about untangling our sense of worth and security from those things. It's about understanding that our identity isn't defined by our net worth or the brand of our clothes or the size of our home. Our identity is something far more enduring, something deeply woven into the fabric of who we are, a beloved child of a loving God.
The path to letting go of the chasing heart is a gentle one, walked step by step. It often begins with awareness, noticing when that restless feeling stirs within us, noticing when we start comparing ourselves to others, noticing when we feel that familiar urge to acquire, to achieve, to prove. Just noticing, without judgment, like observing a cloud passing by in the sky. Then, with gentle intention, we can begin to shift our focus. Instead of always looking outward for what's missing, we can begin to look inward for what's present. What blessings are already here? What simple joys are within our reach? What resources, both tangible and intangible, do we already possess? Sometimes this shift involves a quiet gratitude, a simple practice of thanking God for what we do have, rather than dwelling on what we don't. It's not about forced optimism, but a genuine acknowledgement of the good that already exists in our lives. Even in difficult circumstances, there are often small rays of light, small mercies that can be acknowledged and appreciated. This act of gratitude has a remarkable power to calm the restless heart, to quiet the insistent whispers of lack. Consider the story of a man who once worried constantly about his future. He worked tirelessly, saved every penny, always fearing a future shortage. He built a large barn to store his harvests, always wanting more. But in his pursuit of security, he forgot to truly live. He forgot to share, to connect, to simply be present. The wisdom shared reminds us that life isn't just about accumulation. It's about the richness of existence itself, the precious gift of each moment. His story serves as a gentle caution, not a condemnation, but an invitation to consider where our true priorities lie. Letting go of the chasing heart also involves a quiet trust, a trust that we are not alone, that we are cared for. This isn't a passive trust that excuses us from responsibility. We still work, we still plan, we still make wise choices. But underneath it all, there's a gentle current of faith, a knowing that we are held in a loving hand, that our deepest needs will be met. This trust frees us from the anxiety that can so easily grip us when we feel solely responsible for our own provision and security.
This journey is deeply personal. What one person needs to let go of might be different from another. For some, it might be the desire for material wealth. For others, it might be the relentless pursuit of recognition or status. For yet others, it might be the constant striving for perfection in their appearance or abilities. The core challenge is the same: identifying what we are chasing and gently asking ourselves if it truly brings the lasting peace and fulfillment we crave. And sometimes, it's not even about chasing something new, but about clinging to what we already have out of fear of loss, the fear of losing our comfort, our security, our way of life. This clinging can be as binding as the chasing. True contentment allows us to hold things lightly, to appreciate them without allowing them to define us or consume our anxieties. It's a posture of open hands, ready to receive and also ready to release, trusting in the loving care that surrounds us. As we sit here in this quiet moment, let's just feel the sensation of being held. Imagine a gentle hand resting on yours, a comforting presence beside you. This isn't just an exercise in imagination. It's an invitation to lean into the reality of God's presence, a presence that offers a security far greater than anything this world can provide. In His presence, we are truly safe. In His presence, we are truly seen. In His presence, we are truly loved, not for what we have or what we do, but simply for who we are. So for now, let that chasing heart find a moment of stillness. Let the restless thoughts about what's next, what's missing, what you need to achieve, gently fade into the background. Bring your awareness back to this moment, to this quiet reflection, to the simple act of breathing. You are here.
You are loved. You are enough. And in that truth, there is a profound and lasting peace. A peace that doesn't need to be chased, but simply received. Let this feeling settle over you, a gentle balm for your soul, as you rest in the quiet assurance that you are deeply cared for and truly at home.
As we continue our quiet conversation, let's gently shift our focus from the restless chase to something even deeper, a quiet trust. Sometimes, even when we try to let go of wanting more, a subtle anxiety can linger, a low hum of worry about whether we'll have enough. Will our needs truly be met? Will we be okay? These are very human questions, whispered often in the quiet of our hearts. It's easy to feel as if we're solely responsible for carrying the weight of our own provision, our own future. The world constantly reminds us of scarcity, of competition, of the need to fend for ourselves. And in many ways, we do need to be responsible, to plan, to work. But underneath all of that, there's an invitation to a different kind of peace. One that comes from a profound sense of being seen and cared for, not just by our own efforts, but by a loving presence far greater than ourselves. Think about a small child completely trusting their parent. The child doesn't worry about where their next meal will come from, or how they'll be clothed, or where they'll sleep tonight. They simply exist in the joyful present, knowing without a doubt that their needs will be met by the one who loves them. There's a simple, uncluttered peace in that kind of trust. Of course, as adults, our lives are more complex, our responsibilities far greater. We can't simply stop planning or working, but there's a kernel of truth in that child's trust, a profound lesson about where our deepest security truly lies. The teachings of Jesus often came back to this very theme, an invitation to trust, to release the grip of anxiety about tomorrow. He didn't dismiss our very real concerns, but he gently pointed to a different way of living, a way where worry doesn't have the final say. He knew the human heart, how easily it could be consumed by fears about food, clothing, shelter, the very basics of survival. He often spoke about the birds of the air, how they neither sow nor reap nor store away in barns, yet they are fed. His message wasn't that we should become irresponsible, but that we should look to the consistent, gentle care of the Creator. If God cares for the birds, how much more, he asked, does he care for us? This isn't a flippant question, it's a deep, tender assurance from the very heart of love itself.
Consider the lilies of the field, too. How they grow in such beauty and splendor, more exquisitely adorned than even the most lavishly dressed king. Yet they don't toil or spin. They simply are, enveloped in a beauty that comes from a source beyond their own striving. And again, the gentle question arises, if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and gone tomorrow, won't he much more clothe you? These aren't just poetic metaphors. They are invitations to a profound shift in perspective. They tell us that there's a loving intelligence, a deep caring heart that oversees all of creation, and that includes you intimately and personally. You are not an afterthought. You are not a forgotten detail. You are seen, known, and cherished. This quiet trust doesn't mean that difficulties disappear.
Life will still bring its challenges, its uncertainties, its moments of genuine need. But when we cultivate this trust, these challenges are met with a different spirit. Instead of panic, there can be a quiet resolve. Instead of despair, there can be a flickering hope. Instead of feeling utterly alone, there's a sense of a steady hand guiding us through. Sometimes our worries about tomorrow are fueled by past experiences of lack or disappointment. We've learned, perhaps painfully, that we can't always count on others or even on circumstances. And so we build up defenses. We try to control everything ourselves, believing that this is the only way to truly be safe. This is a very natural response to a world that can feel unpredictable and often harsh. But what if there's a deeper, more profound safety available to us? A safety that isn't dependent on external circumstances or even on the reliability of others, but on the unwavering nature of a divine love. This is the essence of a quiet trust, knowing that even when everything around us feels uncertain, there is an unchanging love that holds us. To truly embrace this trust, sometimes we have to re-examine our definition of needs. The world often tries to tell us that we need so much more than we actually do. It creates desires, fuels aspirations, and convinces us that our happiness is tied to acquiring more, achieving more. But deep down, our true needs are often simpler. Love, connection, a sense of purpose, peace, and yes, provision for our basic well-being. When we focus on these deeper, truer needs, the relentless pressure to acquire external things often softens.
Consider the times in your own life when you felt truly cared for, truly seen. Perhaps it was a friend who knew just what to say, or a quiet moment when you felt a sense of peace despite external chaos. These moments are glimpses, reflections of a larger, constant caring presence that is always there. This is the presence we are invited to lean into, to rest in, when our hearts are heavy with worry about what tomorrow might bring. This quiet trust isn't about being naive or ignoring reality. It's about approaching reality from a different foundation. It's like sailing a boat. You still need to navigate the currents and watch for storms, but knowing you have a strong, reliable anchor beneath you changes everything. It changes how you react to the waves, how you face the winds. You are no longer tossed about by every fear, because you know something deeper holds you. Developing this trust is a journey, not a destination. It's built little by little in quiet moments of reflection, in conscious choices to surrender our worries, even for just a moment, into that larger, loving hand. It's built when we intentionally choose to believe that we are not forgotten, that our cries are heard, and that our needs are known. Sometimes, trust feels like a leap of faith. We are asked to let go of what we can control and step into the unknown. But in the context of divine love, it's less a leap into emptiness and more a gentle leaning back into strong, supportive arms that have always been there. It's rediscovering a fundamental truth about our existence, that we are deeply beloved and therefore deeply cared for. When the worry starts to creep in about money, about health, about relationships, about the future, try a small, gentle practice. Instead of letting the worry swirl and consume you, acknowledge it. Yes, I feel this worry about X. Then, very gently,
Imagine placing that worry into the palm of a loving hand. It's not about making the problem disappear, but about sharing the burden, about remembering that you don't have to carry it all by yourself.
This act of placing our burdens in a loving hand is an ancient practice, a recognition that there is a compassionate heart that cares for us. It's a way of saying, I trust that you see this. I trust that you care. I trust that you will guide me, even through this. And often, just that act of surrender can bring a wave of calm, a sense of lightness that wasn't there before. The Apostle Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends, once wrote a simple yet profound invitation. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. Think about those words. Cast all your anxiety. Not just some of it, not just the small worries, but all of it. And the reason? Because he cares for you. It's such a simple, powerful truth. It's not about earning that care or deserving it. It's simply a given. It is. He cares. This quiet trust helps us navigate the complexities of money and possessions. When we trust that our deeper needs are seen and met, the scramble for more begins to lose its urgency. We can approach our finances with wisdom and responsibility, but without the gnawing fear that drives so much consumerism and attachment. We can appreciate what we have, use it wisely, and even share it generously, knowing that our ultimate security isn't tied to its amount. Imagine yourself truly at peace regarding your provision, not because you have an overflowing bank account, but because you have a quiet, steady confidence in the loving care that surrounds you. This confidence allows you to live more freely, to engage with life more fully, to worry less about tomorrow, and to be more present in today. So, as we draw to a close in this quiet moment, let's just sit with that thought. God sees our needs. He sees the big ones, the small ones, the ones we voice and the ones we keep hidden in the deepest corners of our hearts. He doesn't overlook you. He doesn't forget you. You are held in His loving gaze, cared for with a tenderness that surpasses all understanding. Allow yourself to lean into that truth. Let it be a gentle hand on your heart, a comforting whisper in your ear. You are seen. You are known. You are provided for. Rest in that quiet trust, letting it settle deep within your spirit, bringing a profound and lasting peace that transcends all fear. You are safe. You are cared for. And in that knowing, there is a deep, quiet rest. This is not about obligation or about giving out of a sense of duty. This is something far more organic and joyful. It's about discovering the gentle delight that comes from sharing what we have, not because we have to, but because our heart feels full, and sharing becomes a natural overflow of that fullness. It's like a spring that bubbles up with fresh water. It doesn't hold on to its water, but naturally gives it forth, refreshing everything it touches. Sometimes we might think of giving as something we do only when we have extra, when our own cup is overflowing to the brim. And, of course, it's wonderful to give from abundance. But the deeper truth, The one that can truly transform our hearts is that the gentle joy of giving doesn't necessarily depend on how much we possess. It depends on the posture of our heart, on whether we recognize that everything we have is, in a sense, a gift. Think about the simple acts of kindness we sometimes experience or offer. A kind word to someone struggling, a listening ear, a small gesture of help. These often cost nothing in terms of money, but they are profound acts of giving, flowing from a generous spirit. They leave both the giver and the receiver feeling a little lighter, a little more connected. This is the essence of what we're talking about. Sharing from a place of genuine connection and care, rather than calculation or compulsion. The wisdom shared by Jesus and his friends often highlighted this profound truth. They weren't advocating for poverty or for giving away everything we have without thought. Instead, they were inviting people to see their resources, whatever they might be, time, talent, material possessions, kindness, as something that could flow through them rather than stagnate within them. They understood that a heart that clings tightly out of fear or greed ultimately diminishes itself. But a heart that gives freely, even modestly, finds itself expanded, enriched, and strangely more content. There's a story Jesus told about a poor widow who put 2 very small copper coins into the temple treasury. Many wealthy people were putting in large sums, making a show of their generosity. But Jesus pointed out that the widow, out of her poverty, had put in all she had to live on. He wasn't saying everyone should give away everything they own. He was drawing attention to the heart behind the giving. Her act was not about the amount, but about the spirit of complete trust and selfless generosity that truly moved her. It was a gentle reminder that the quality of our giving is measured not by the size of the gift, but by the love and freedom with which it is offered. This is a beautiful and often counterintuitive truth. In a world that often measures worth by accumulation, this wisdom suggests that true richness is found in release, in the flowing forth of generosity. It's a paradox. The more freely we give, the more our hearts feel full. The more we share, the less we feel a sense of lack. Why is this? Perhaps it's because when we give from a full heart, we are aligning ourselves with a deeper current of life, a natural rhythm of giving and receiving that runs through all of creation. The sun doesn't hold back its light, it simply shines. The rain doesn't cling to the clouds, it falls and nourishes the earth. There's a natural outflow, a generosity embedded in the very fabric of existence. When we tap into that, we feel a resonance, a sense of rightness that brings a quiet joy. Giving also helps us to gently loosen our grip on our possessions. When we share, we recognize that these things are not ultimately ours to cling to, but resources entrusted to us. This can be incredibly liberating. It diminishes the power that material things might hold over us, the anxiety we might feel about losing them, or the pride we might attach to having them. It helps us remember that our true treasures are not things that can be bought or sold. Think about a time when you truly helped someone, perhaps anonymously, or when you saw the genuine joy your giving brought to another. Do you remember that warm feeling that settled in your chest? That sense of satisfaction that went beyond mere accomplishment? That's a taste of the gentle joy of giving, a quiet affirmation that we are made for connection, for contribution, for sharing our lives with others.
This doesn't mean we have to seek out grand gestures of charity. Often, the most profound acts of giving are small, everyday things. A genuine compliment that brightens someone's day, sharing a meal with a lonely neighbor, offering a ride to someone who needs one, taking time to truly listen to a friend without interrupting, sharing your skills to help someone with a task they find difficult. These are all acts of generosity, expressions of a heart that is willing to share its abundance, whatever form that abundance takes. And what about those times when we feel we have very little to give? Perhaps we're going through a season of scarcity ourselves, or we feel emotionally depleted. Even then, the invitation to give remains, though perhaps in a different form. We might not have money to share, but we might have a simple prayer to offer for someone else. We might not have energy for a grand project, but we might have a moment of quiet empathy for a struggling soul. Even a genuine smile shared with a stranger can be an act of giving, a small flicker of warmth passed from one heart to another. The beauty of giving from a full heart is that it's not about being pressured, but about being prompted by love. It's not about ticking a box, but about responding to the gentle nudges of compassion within us. And when it comes from that place, it feels less like an obligation and more like a privilege, a beautiful opportunity to participate in the flow of goodness in the world. Sometimes our reluctance to give comes from a fear that if we give, we will have less for ourselves. This fear is understandable, especially in a world that often feels competitive and uncertain. But the wisdom that Jesus shared gently challenges this fear. He said, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." This isn't a magical formula for getting rich. It's a profound truth about the nature of generosity. When we give from a heart of trust and love, we experience an abundance that goes far beyond mere material returns. We experience an abundance of joy, connection, peace, and a deeper sense of purpose. It's an abundance that isn't always quantifiable. It might be the richness of a relationship deepened by a shared act of kindness. It might be the profound sense of peace that comes from knowing you've made a difference, however small. It might be the quiet strengthening of your own faith as you step out in generosity, trusting that you will indeed be cared for. This is the running over that he spoke of, a fullness in our spirits that can't be measured in coins. So, as we rest in this moment, let's consider what it might mean to allow our hearts to be a channel rather than a reservoir. A channel for kindness, for generosity, for sharing the good that flows into our own lives. What small, gentle act of giving might be stirring in your heart right now? It doesn't have to be grand. It just needs to be genuine. Perhaps it's a simple thought, a prayer for someone you know is struggling. Perhaps it's a quiet decision to offer a word of encouragement.
Perhaps it's a willingness to share a little of your time, your energy, or a small portion of your resources, not out of guilt, but out of a gentle, full-hearted desire to contribute to the well-being of others. When we share from a full heart, we become part of something larger than ourselves. We participate in the beautiful dance of life where giving and receiving are interwoven. And in that dance, we discover a profound and gentle joy, a sense of purpose and connection that enriches our lives in ways that no amount of accumulation ever could. Let that feeling settle over you now, the quiet warmth that comes from a generous spirit, the subtle lightness that accompanies an open hand and an open heart. There's a beautiful freedom in giving, a deep satisfaction in knowing that we are part of the flow of goodness. And in that gentle joy, we find a peace that truly lasts. Rest in the quiet assurance that your generosity, however small, is seen, valued, and brings a unique light into the world.
In our everyday life, we're constantly shown images of what society values as treasure. Beautiful homes, fancy cars, expensive clothes, impressive job titles, large sums of money. And there's nothing inherently wrong with any of these things. They can bring comfort, provide security, and open doors to opportunities. But the quiet wisdom we're exploring gently asks us to consider if these are the only treasures, or even the most important ones. Are these the things that will truly bring us lasting peace and fulfillment, the kind that stands firm when everything else changes? Imagine trying to hold on to water in your open hands. For a moment, you can cup it, feel its cool presence, but inevitably, it slips through your fingers, returning to the earth. Many of the treasures we chase in this life are like that, beautiful and seemingly solid for a time, but ultimately fleeting. They are susceptible to rust, to moths, to economic downturns, to market crashes, to the passage of time, to being lost or stolen. Clinging too tightly to them can bring more anxiety than peace. The teachings of Jesus often spoke directly to this. He didn't condemn wealth, but he offered a profound perspective on where to place our ultimate hope and security. He said, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." These words aren't meant to be a warning about earthly things being bad. Rather, they are a gentle invitation to consider where we are truly investing our hearts, where we are placing our deepest affections and our most profound sense of security. If our heart is solely invested in things that can be taken away, then our peace will always be fragile, vulnerable to loss. But if our heart finds its treasure in something beyond the reach of decay and theft, then we can live with a quiet confidence, knowing that what truly matters is safe. So, what are these treasures that last? What are these things that moths cannot destroy and thieves cannot steal? They are often the intangible, the unseen, the spiritual qualities that shape our character and connect us to something eternal. One such treasure is love. Not just romantic love, but the deep, unconditional love we extend to others and the love we receive. The patience, kindness, compassion, and forgiveness we offer. The moments of genuine connection, of truly seeing and being seen by another human being. These acts of love, these heart connections, are not fleeting. They leave an imprint on our souls and on the souls of others that time cannot erase. They build a legacy, not of possessions, but of presence. Another lasting treasure is wisdom and understanding. The insights we gain through experience, through quiet reflection, through learning from our mistakes and successes. The ability to discern truth, to live with integrity, to respond to life with grace and discernment. This wisdom grows within us. It cannot be taken away. It becomes a part of who we are, a guiding light through all of life's complexities. Then there is character, the virtues we cultivate, integrity, humility, courage, perseverance, generosity, faithfulness. These are the inner qualities that define us at our core. They are forged in the fires of life's challenges, polished by our choices, and strengthened by our commitment to what is good and true. A person of strong, loving character is rich indeed, far richer than someone with vast wealth but a fractured spirit. These inner strengths are our constant companions, our true capital in the journey of life. Consider also the treasure of peace, the quiet serenity that settles in our hearts when we are aligned with a deeper purpose, when we live in harmony with ourselves and with God. This isn't the absence of trouble, but the presence of calm amidst the storm. It's an inner refuge, a sanctuary that no external chaos can penetrate. This peace is a gift, nurtured through trust and spiritual connection, and once found, it becomes an unshakable foundation. And perhaps the greatest treasure of all is our relationship with God itself. The moments of quiet communion, the feeling of being truly known and loved, the sense of guidance and presence that accompanies us through every season of life. This relationship is the source of all other lasting treasures. It is the wellspring from which love, wisdom, character, and peace ultimately flow. It is the ultimate security, a bond that transcends life and death, a connection to the eternal. When we focus on accumulating these kinds of treasures, our perspective on earthly possessions naturally shifts. They are no longer the ultimate goal, but simply tools, resources that can be used wisely to cultivate these lasting riches. Money, for instance, can be used to express love through generosity, to gain wisdom through education, to strengthen character through responsible stewardship, and to foster peace by alleviating suffering. The possession itself isn't the treasure. It's what we do with it and the spirit in which we hold it that truly matters. This isn't to say that the practicalities of life don't matter. We still need food, shelter, and a means to live. But when our hearts are rooted in treasures that last, we approach these practicalities with a different spirit. We can work hard, plan wisely, and manage our resources without the crushing anxiety that comes from believing these things are our ultimate security. We know that our true security lies elsewhere, in something far more profound and enduring. Imagine carrying a backpack full of precious but fragile items. You would walk carefully, constantly worried about bumping it or losing something. Now imagine a backpack filled with something intangible, like happy memories or deep wisdom. You would still walk mindfully, but the anxiety of loss would be absent. You could navigate the world with a lighter step, knowing that the most valuable contents are safe within you, beyond the reach of external forces. This understanding also helps us cope with loss, because loss is an inevitable part of life. We will lose possessions, relationships change, circumstances shift. If our identity and security are solely tied to what we can hold, then loss can be utterly devastating. But if we have invested in treasures that last, then even when earthly things are taken away, our deepest core remains intact. The love we shared, the wisdom we gained, the character we forged, these remain, a testament to a life well lived, a heart well loved. The journey toward valuing these lasting treasures is a gentle process of re-evaluation. It involves asking ourselves, quietly and honestly, what truly brings me lasting joy and peace? What will truly matter in the long run? Where am I truly investing my heart? And then, with gentle intention, making small shifts in how we spend our time, our energy, and our resources.
Perhaps it means choosing a moment of quiet connection with a loved one over another hour of work. Perhaps it means investing in a skill that brings you joy and allows you to serve others, rather than solely focusing on a pursuit that promises only financial gain. These are not drastic changes, but gentle redirections of our heart's compass. As we sit in this quiet moment, let's reflect on the treasures in our own lives that truly last. What are the experiences, the relationships, the inner qualities that you cherish most deeply, the ones that truly nourish your spirit, that bring you a profound sense of meaning and purpose? Acknowledge them. Feel their presence within you. These are the riches that no thief can steal, no market can devalue, no moth can destroy. Let the quiet assurance of these enduring treasures settle over you. Feel the lightness that comes from knowing that what truly defines you, what truly enriches your spirit, is safe, eternal, and beyond the reach of earthly change. Rest in the knowledge that your most precious investments are in a realm where they cannot perish, where they are cherished and magnified by the very source of all lasting goodness. In these lasting treasures, you find not just peace, but an unshakable hope that truly anchors your soul. Imagine for a moment carrying a very heavy backpack on a long journey. Every extra item adds weight, slows you down, and makes the path more arduous. Now imagine setting down that backpack, taking out only what is truly essential, and then beginning your journey again, light and unburdened. That feeling of lightness, that sense of freedom, is what living lightly offers us in our daily lives. In our modern world, we are constantly encouraged to accumulate more clothes, more gadgets, more entertainment, bigger homes, more responsibilities. Each of these things, while seemingly offering convenience or pleasure, also comes with its own hidden weight. The weight of acquisition, the weight of maintenance, the weight of worry about protecting it, or the subtle pressure to keep up with others. All of this can silently, subtly build up and create a heaviness in our spirits, leaving us feeling overwhelmed and strangely unfree.
Simplicity, then, is an invitation to consciously release some of that weight. It's about discerning what truly adds value to our lives and what merely creates noise, distraction, or burden. It's about asking, do I truly need this?
Does this bring me closer to what truly matters, or does it pull me further away? This isn't a judgment of possessions themselves, but a gentle inquiry into their role in our lives and their impact on our inner peace. Jesus and those who followed him often lived lives that embodied a profound simplicity, not as a moral imperative for everyone, but as a practical path to spiritual freedom. They traveled lightly, focused on their mission, and weren't entangled by an abundance of earthly goods. This wasn't because they couldn't have had more, but because they understood that true riches were found elsewhere, in connection with God and service to others. Their lives were a testament to the idea that a full heart does not require a full house. Think about the feeling of decluttering a physical space. As you remove things you no longer need, use, or love, a sense of calm and clarity often emerges. There's more room to breathe, more mental space. Living lightly extends this idea beyond our physical surroundings, to our schedules, our commitments, and even to our thoughts. It's about decluttering our lives in every sense, creating space for what truly nourishes our souls. The freedom of simplicity isn't just about owning fewer things, it's about a shift in mindset. It's about being content with what we have, rather than constantly striving for more. It's about finding joy in the simple pleasures of life. A walk in nature, a heartfelt conversation, a quiet moment of reflection, rather than always needing grand experiences or expensive entertainment to feel fulfilled. This embrace of simplicity often involves a gentle reevaluation of our priorities. If we realize that our deepest longing is for peace, for connection, for spiritual growth, then we might naturally begin to let go of things that compete for our time, energy, and resources without truly serving those deeper desires. It's not about being ascetic, but about being intentional. For instance, living lightly might mean simplifying your schedule. We often fill our days to the brim, rushing from one activity to the next, leaving little room for rest, reflection, or spontaneous joy. A simpler schedule might involve carving out intentional pockets of quiet, saying no to some demands, and prioritizing activities that truly replenish your spirit rather than deplete it.
It might mean simplifying your financial habits. Instead of constantly buying new things, perhaps you learn to appreciate what you already own, to repair things, to share or borrow. It could mean reducing debt, which often carries a heavy burden of worry and restriction, and instead finding freedom in a more mindful approach to spending and saving. It could also mean simplifying your mental landscape. We are constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and pressures from the world around us. Living lightly might involve setting boundaries with technology, choosing to consume media more consciously, and intentionally creating moments of quiet to allow our minds to rest and reset. When our minds are less cluttered, we have more clarity, more peace, and more space to hear the quiet whispers of our own heart and of divine guidance. The beauty of simplicity is that it often reveals the true abundance that was always there, just hidden beneath layers of accumulation and distraction. When we pare back the non-essentials, we often find that the essentials, love, connection, nature, quiet moments, our faith, shine even brighter. We discover that true contentment isn't about having everything we want, but about appreciating everything we already have, and recognizing that our deepest needs are already met. This embrace of simplicity is also an act of trust. It's a quiet declaration that we don't need to control every aspect of our lives by accumulating more or by constantly striving. It's a gentle acknowledgement that we can trust in a larger providence, that we are cared for, and that true security lies not in the size of our possessions, but in the depth of our spirit. As we journey through life, we'll undoubtedly encounter moments where the world tries to pull us back into the chase, to convince us that we need more to be happy, successful, or worthy. But when we have tasted the freedom of living lightly, we have a quiet inner compass that guides us back to what truly matters. We learn to discern the subtle difference between genuine needs and fleeting desires, between lasting satisfaction and momentary pleasure.
So, in this quiet moment, let's just breathe into the idea of living lightly. What might it feel like to release a burden you've been carrying, either physically or emotionally? What might it mean to simplify one small area of your life to create a little more space, a little more peace? It could be as simple as clearing a cluttered drawer, or choosing to spend 5 minutes in quiet contemplation instead of scrolling on your phone. These small acts of simplicity are not about sacrifice. They are about liberation. They are about shedding the unnecessary so that we can more fully embrace the essential. They are about creating a life that feels more spacious, more intentional, and more deeply aligned with the peace and contentment your heart truly longs for. Allow yourself to feel the gentle embrace of this simplicity now. Let the idea of living lightly settle in your spirit, bringing a sense of calm and release. You don't need to do anything grand. Just breathe. Rest in the freedom that comes from knowing you are enough, you have enough, and that the deepest joys in life are found not in what you grasp, but in what you gently release, making space for a profound and lasting peace. Life often feels like a constant effort to make things happen, to ensure our own security. We work, we plan, we save, we worry, and all of this is part of responsible living. But underneath all that doing, there's an invitation to a different type of security, one that doesn't depend on our own endless striving. It's the security of knowing that we are utterly, completely, and tenderly provided for by a love that is unwavering and all-encompassing. Think about a weary traveler who finally reaches a safe haven after a long and challenging journey. They can finally lay down their burdens, relax their shoulders, and simply rest. There's a deep sigh of relief, a sense of quiet arrival. This is the kind of rest we are invited into when we truly lean into the idea of God's provision as our deepest security. It's not a rest from action, but a rest in action, a peace that underlies all our efforts.
The spiritual wisdom we've been reflecting on continuously points us back to this foundational truth. We are not alone in this journey of life. There is a loving Creator who knows our every need, cares for our every concern, and whose provision extends far beyond what we can imagine or orchestrate on our own. This isn't a passive abandonment of responsibility, but an active trust that empowers us to live more fully, more courageously, and with less fear. This deepest security isn't just about material provision, though it certainly includes that. It's about a holistic provision, emotional, spiritual, relational, and physical. It's knowing that even when circumstances are difficult, when resources seem scarce, or when our hearts are heavy, we are still held. We are provided with strength, comfort, guidance, and a foundational love that never falters. Consider the gentle way that God sustains all of creation, the cycles of the seasons,
the growth of a tiny seed into a mighty tree, the intricate balance of ecosystems, all speak of an ongoing, faithful provision that operates whether we are aware of it or not. If such care is given to the natural world, how much more, Jesus taught, is it given to us, His beloved children? You are not less important than the sparrows or less beautiful than the lilies. You are deeply cherished. Sometimes, when we hear about provision, our minds immediately go to grand, miraculous interventions. And while those certainly happen, God's provision often comes in quiet, everyday ways. It might be the unexpected kindness of a stranger, a sudden insight that helps us solve a problem, a surge of energy when we felt depleted, a quiet moment of peace that strengthens our spirit, or simply the daily sustenance that arrives in predictable ways. Learning to see and acknowledge these everyday provisions helps to cultivate this deep trust. This deepest security also brings a profound sense of enough. When we rest in His provision, the constant striving for more begins to quiet down. We learn that true richness is not defined by accumulation, but by connection and contentment. We begin to understand that enough is a state of heart, not a sum in a bank account. And when we find that state of heart, a profound peace settles within us.
The Apostle Paul, who faced immense hardships and uncertainties in his life, wrote a beautiful reflection on this. He said, "And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory." Think about the power of those words, all your needs, not just some, and according to the riches of His glory, not just a meager allowance. This is a promise from a heart of boundless love and limitless resource. It's an invitation to release our anxious grip and simply rest in that expansive promise. Resting in His provision doesn't mean we become complacent or irresponsible. It means we work diligently, make wise choices, and plan for the future. But we do so from a place of trust, not fear. Our efforts are no longer born of a desperate scramble for survival, but from a joyful cooperation with a loving hand that guides and sustains us. The anxiety about outcomes lessens because we know that ultimately we are held. This kind of security is robust. It's not shaken by economic downturns or personal losses or unforeseen difficulties, because it's rooted not in the changeable circumstances of the world, but in the unchanging character of God. This security is an inner sanctuary, a quiet place of refuge that we can always access no matter what storms may rage outside. So, as we conclude our time together, let's consciously lean into this idea of resting in His provision. Imagine yourself in the lap of Jesus, truly held, truly safe. Feel the warmth, the steadiness, the absolute assurance of being utterly cared for. Let your shoulders relax. Let the tension in your mind begin to unwind. Allow yourself to gently release any remaining worries about what you lack or what tomorrow might bring.
You are seen. You are known. You are loved beyond measure. And because of that boundless love, you are provided for. Not just with what you need to survive, but with what you need to thrive, to experience joy, to find peace, and to live a life filled with purpose and meaning. Let this truth sink deep into your spirit now. Let it be a gentle blanket of comfort that wraps around you. Rest in the quiet, profound security that comes from knowing you are in capable, loving hands.
There is nothing to fear, nothing to grasp for, nothing to prove. Just be. Be present. Be loved. Be at peace. For in His provision, you find your deepest, most abiding security. May this sense of rest accompany you now as you drift into a peaceful and restorative sleep, held safely in His presence.